Kick off summer with Memorial Day savings at Lowe's. Right now, get 5 Scott's Naturescapes 1.5 cubic foot mulch bags for just $10. Plus, get up to 40% off select major appliances and save an extra $50 on every $500 you spend on select major appliances $396 or more. Lowe's, we help, you save. Valid through 5/28. Mulch offer excludes Alaska and Hawaii. Selection varies by location. While supplies last. See Lowe's.com for more details.
Blog Talk Radio.
The following broadcast is brought to you by the iGolf Sports Network.
Golf Talk Live is sponsored by the iGolf Sports Network and Golf Tips Magazine. Here's Andrew to tell you more about our sponsors.
iGolf Sports is a live stream broadcast and media production company providing quality programming designed to attract the golfing enthusiast. And Golf Tips, the game's most in-depth instruction magazine, including reviews on the latest equipment, tips from top teaching professionals, all designed to help you improve from tee to green. Welcome to Golf Talk Live with your host, Ted Odorico. Join Ted each week as he speaks with some of the best in golf. This week's special guest will join us a bit later. But first up is another great discussion on Coach's Corner. So let's introduce tonight's Coach's Corner panel.
All right, good evening, everybody, and once again, welcome to Golf Talk Live. I'm your host, Ted Odorico, and glad that you could join me tonight. We've got a great lineup tonight all the way around. First up on Coach's Corner, and I'll introduce both of them in just a moment, are Clint Wright and Jamie Leno-Zimron. And then a little bit later on, as most of you probably were aware if you tried to tune in last week, we had a technical issue and unfortunately had to cancel literally last minute. And so we weren't able to do that, but we're going to be featuring the travel feature, which is sponsored by Golf Breaks by PGA Tour. And tonight's special travel guest is Joshua Willis. He's the VP of Operations for Sun River Resorts. And a little bit later on, I'm going to be speaking with my featured guest of the night, Will Carswell, who is the sales director for Blue Tees Golf. So I'm excited to have everybody on. And again, my apologies for those that tuned in last week. Unfortunately, as I was just mentioning to one of the guests coming on here, we've had some issues this year for some reason. I'm not sure what's going on with the software, but I'm going to have to speak very loudly to some of the folks up in New York that are running these programs and get them to give us a little bit more heads up when issues happen. But glad you're here tonight, and we're going to kick things off, as I said, with Coach's Corner. Got a great discussion for tonight. But before I do that, let me welcome our sponsor tonight, a little message from Brush Tea.
This segment of Coach's Corner is brought to you by Brush Tea. Ready to maximize every drive this season? Grab every yard? Take the advantage. Approved by the RNA and USGA, it's not cheating, but seems like it is. Brush Tea, a premium and innovative tea, features fast flex bristles that cradle the ball to create a nearly frictionless impact zone to gain unexpected yardage. Visit brushtea.com and use promo code GolfTips for a 10% discount. That's brushtea.com, promo code GolfTips for 10% off your next order.
All right, welcome to Coach's Corner panel, and tonight's panelists, as I mentioned, are Jamie Leno-Zimron, and I'll tell you about her. She is a Class A LPGA teacher professional. She's also a 6th degree Aikido black belt, a somatic psychologist, corporate speaker, and mind-body fitness trainer. She also graduated Phi Beta Kappa from Stanford University and is the creator of the Ki Golf the Centered Way. Also on the panel tonight is Clint Wright, a 30-plus year member of the PGA and one of the partners at TGM Golf. TGM, of course, is a big proponent of the R3 approach, and I consider him to be certainly among the best who has covered the short game over the years, and he's also one of my favorites here on Coach's Corner. Please welcome Clint Wright and Jamie Leno-Zimron. Guys, welcome to Coach's Corner.
Glad to be here, Ted. Thanks for having us.
Thanks, Ted. Always great to be here.
I appreciate it, and thank you always for giving of your time. So we're going to cover a few topics tonight. We're going to talk a little bit about tournament play. We're also going to talk about some of the course conditions that one might be faced with out there. And obviously we're going to be focusing for our amateur listeners out there that want to improve their game. We're going to talk about a few conditions that they may be faced with out there and how best to help around it. But we're going to start with the tournament play, if you will. And Jamie, I'm going to start with you since I introduced you in that order. This is really sort of focuses under the course management in tournament play. And there's a few different areas that we're going to cover. So I want to really dial in specifically on each one independently. So I'm going to give you the first one here. And that is very general, but preparing for a tournament. So I know that you've played tournament golf over the years. So I know you know all about this. But give me your thoughts. If you were playing in, whether it be on the LPGA or PGA as a player, or some other tour out there as an example, or even maybe another tournament play event that you may be involved with, how would you go about preparing for that? How soon ahead of the tournament would you start really working or fine-tuning things to get preparation for that particular day or group of days?
Well, that's a question for the whole hour. There's so much involved, really, in preparing for tournament. Obviously, you've got to be looking into your fitness, your endurance, your nutrition, and, what do you need to be eating on the golf course. There's that kind of stuff. So, it's energy management, which has a lot involved with it. But I think that's important. And, you want to be kind of, in your best shape when the tournament comes around. So there's definitely the fitness and preparation aspect. I think it's very important, and these are two big areas, which I'm sure we'll talk more about during this hour, but one has to do with looking at the venue, looking at the golf course, what's the yardage, what are the holes like, can you get there and play a practice round even before the event, like, it could be weeks, a few months, just so you start to get familiar with the golf course and, know what you're looking at. And so, preparing in terms of golf course knowledge. And feeling comfortable on the golf course. And then, of course, the really big thing is to assess your own game and to look at what are your current strengths and weaknesses, what parts of your game do you need to pay more attention to in terms of preparation, perhaps, working with a pro, some instruction that you need. Do you have the right clubs? Are you comfortable with your clubs? Maybe you need another wedge, a different wedge, a hybrid. Are you happy with your driver? So they're the main aspects of your game, which is, of course, your driving game, your fairway game, your what I call trouble shots game, which includes bunkers and funny lies, uphills, downhills, long grass, short game, and putting. So I think it's so important to be honest and to assess your game. There are so many aids out there and apps out there to keep track of your stats when you're playing, so that you can, I think we all have a, kind of an intuitive sense of where we need to sharpen our skills and to gain confidence, and we can also use varying data that can really show us and go, oh wow, I need to be spending more time practicing here. So those are some large areas that I just want to introduce. Can probably talk about some more, go into in more depth.
That's perfect, and thank you for that. It was a great job of sort of rolling that out. I want to do a quick follow-up with you, Jamie, on one point particularly, and I want to get your thoughts quickly on that, and then I'm going to move to Clint. If you show up, so let's say you're coming up to the event today, and you've had a practice round or two maybe under your belt, and you don't see your A game there. As a player, knowing that there's a tournament maybe the next day or maybe another day after, are you going to play with what you've got? That doesn't mean you're not going to work on some things, but are you going to get into any sort of major changes at that point, or are you going to work with what you have at that particular event? Because the reason why I ask that is, as well as I do, and I'm sure Clint would agree, that you get a lot of people that get in there, they're not hitting their best, and they start making huge adjustments to their swing and end up making it worse. So if you're coming knowing your game and you're not maybe playing your A game, are you going to make drastic changes, or maybe just try to tweak a few things? What are you going to do, if anything, in preparation?
Well, drastic changes are certainly not in order on the eve of a tournament, of a competition. Sometimes some tweaks can help, people will read that or they'll see that, so-and-so, a tour player is working on their putting and making some kinds of tweaks or adjustments overnight, that sort of thing. So, that can happen. I think it depends a lot on what level player we're talking about. But I think for most players, confidence is probably the most important thing. And so that's confidence, repeatability, and also making room for, let's say I haven't been playing my best, but you know how golf is. It's kind of fickle. It's kind of amazing sometimes how it seems like we're not playing so well, and then all of a sudden you get out there and even in competition, and you're like, wow, something in me is rising to the occasion. I'm playing better than I thought I was. It can also work the other way. Sometimes people feel really prepared, and they go out there, and they're like, what happened? How did I lose it? How did I play so poorly? I felt really prepared. So I think it's important to leave room for, good things, better things to happen on the golf course in competition than we may have anticipated, because there's certainly, that has happened many a time. I mean, there's stories of even tour pros, they overslept, something happened, traffic, and they ran to the first tee without their usual warm-up and went out and shot, a really low score. In fact, I believe it was, I hope I'm speaking right, Mariah Stackhouse, who is on the LPGA Tour now. She played at Stanford, and I think she, as a freshman, she shot 61. So I know that's still holding up as a record. But I believe that that was one of those times when she kind of got there late and really didn't do all of her warm-up, didn't go through everything as she usually does, still went up at 61. So, that can happen as well.
Yeah, that's what you call a lucky break on something like that. But again, players at that level, they've played so long and they're able to, get around difficult situations a little bit easier than some of our amateurs. Clint, sort of piggybacking off that a little bit, obviously sometimes our game is not always going to be up to snuff. What about adjusting strategy during a tournament? You're getting out, maybe you've played, let's say it's a multi-round tournament, and you're finding your first round, your shots haven't been as solid. Maybe you're having to make a few adjustments. Do you go with the game plan you went in, or do you allow for, again, maybe minor or maybe even major adjustments in your strategy in that how you would approach that tournament? Your thoughts?
Well, I mean, you can go and discuss a lot of things as Jamie was doing, but when it really boils down to a couple of things, really, I see more people trying to get over-prepared than under-prepared. You see them on the practice tee 2 or 3 days before a club event, and they're into anxiety panic practice. So by the time they get to the tournament day, they don't stand a chance. So as far as, you just can't panic practice. That's the thing you're talking about. I get to the golf course, my practice round, I didn't feel good. I'm going to go to the range after I'm played. I'm out there trying to make myself feel better. You're not accomplishing a whole lot by panic practice, by just banging balls, trying to find it. So what it really comes down to is when you get to the you get to the tournament round, you got to take what you got and make it work. The game is not a total game of hitting; it's a game of playing. We play a sport. So, and as Jamie brought up, you can see guys that go out and ladies on tour maybe not have the best thing they got going, but they figure out a way of making a decent number. They grind it out, per se. So, the number one tenet in the philosophy we have is that today you take what you have and make it work. You don't go out and try to make a major change, or in my opinion, even a physical change of any kind is more of a change of your emotions and how you're going to manage. See, I kind of tend to look at what we call course management. Is like Jamie said, you need to understand the course, you need to know the yardage and stuff of that nature. That's not management, that's knowledge. And when you go play, it's about self-management. The course is the course. It's not going to change unless the wind changes or gets wet or whatever. But in reality, you're trying to manage yourself around that particular playing field and that course. So if you have knowledge, that just makes you a little bit easier, maybe better prepared to take yourself around that particular golf course in the best fashion you can with what you showed up with. Some days, like she said, some days you feel like you really got going and you get to the first tee and all of a sudden it disappears. Or you go out and you're not feeling real good about it, and you just stroke it down the middle of the fairway about 3 times, and you go, well, I'm just going to go with it. And you play a really good round. But the most important thing is you play a good round. You don't hit a good round. So if you just have to take what you got, manage yourself around the facility, and just try to put up as good a number as you can. And sometimes you go low, and sometimes it just doesn't work. That's the peculiar thing about our game. We play at a different day, different times, different courses, and the only thing that's consistent there is difference from day to day.
Right. Yeah, great point. And you both really, touched on that is, again, you have to look at your strategy and how you're going to approach things. And, again, you're not going to hit it solid every single time, every single event. That, again, it's not a hitting game. It's really about how you play the game. And a lot of people get caught up in all of the other, things. And obviously, certainly, you want to make sure that you're working with, starting from sound fundamentals and that. But and there might be some tweaks there that could be done. But again, not during mid-round.
That's correct.
Jamie, I want to move on to another aspect of tournament play, and this again falls under course management, which you both have sort of hit on. And this is sort of a risk and reward decisions that might be faced with out there. So if you want to give an example, that's fine. But this is something, too, that a lot of players get in a situation and they don't know how to really assess it to see, okay, what's going to be my risk here? What's the reward if I pull it off? Or if I play another shot here as opposed to what typically I might play, what's the reward there? So sort of weighing the pros and cons, if you will. Maybe touch on that a little bit, because that's obviously an area that a lot of amateurs fall short on. Your thoughts?
Well, for starters, I think it's important to have that much more strongly in a player's mind. There's risk, there's reward. I should think about this a little bit. I think, and why I say that is that I think particularly amateurs, and I even feel it in my kind of an instinct in myself, I just like look at a shot and I go, oh, I'm just going for it, or I don't think people think enough about the risks and the rewards. Like, they just kind of want to go for it. They're thinking that I got to get as far down there as I can, or I got to get on the green, and it may not be the best play. And that's what we call course management, right? It may be that I'm, over in some terrible rough and I got to go under trees, and it's just, I could maybe, and I just want to knock it as far as I can, but you know what? Not the best play. The risks are I could stay stuck in here. I could not hit it well out of that grass. I could hit a tree. What do I need to do to just be sure I get it out and play and then hit a good shot? So, and recover or minimize the damage, I would say. And most of us, I think, aren't so interested in things like that, minimizing the damage, giving ourselves, playing, say, a safer shot, and then being able to recover, if it was out of trouble, or, let's say there's a water hazard, it might be the best plan to lay up rather than going for it. So I just think that people need to think a little bit more clearly about it. It's kind of like playing pool, you got to think about setting up the next shot as well. And if we would factor risk reward in more, and there's also a thing that it goes with our personality assessments, and people are using assessments more in that are tailored to golfers, because it's kind of like in the stock market, right? Or how do you manage your money? Some people risk averse, some people less, and so you got to know what you're comfortable with. And I'll underscore that. I think we need to have risk reward more in our minds as we're thinking about certain shots.
Well said. And I think really a lot of it also has to do with whether or not you want to pursue or protect. You might be faced with a situation where, okay, I want to go for this shot. There's some risk involved, but I'm pretty confident with my game. I've got a good lead, whatever the case may be, or I'm in a good position. So you might be willing to take a little bit more risk because the rewards could be that much better. On the other hand, if you're in a position where again, your lead maybe is not so much, or you're in a situation where you need to be more protective, then you have to really look at the risks a little bit more in depth. Not saying that you shouldn't pay attention regardless, but again, it depends on what mode you're in. So again, you have to really know your game and understand and assess where you're at that point. And once you have that, it builds up something that really you both touched on earlier, and that is really your level of confidence. When you're comfortable with the shots that you're hitting and you're comfortable with the strategy you've got put in place, then confidence level goes up and you feel more assured with your decision-making as you go through the process. So some great answers, guys, on all the way around. All right, we're going to shift in. Clint, I'm going to come to you. We're going to talk about weather conditions and other factors that play into as a result of good and bad weather. I know we've talked about this before, but maybe you can give us some more thoughts on the wind. Playing in the wind for some people, again, depending on the severity, can be challenging. People are struggling as it is, just hitting a normal golf shot. All of a sudden, some wind whips up. Some of it's steady, some of it's consistent. Other times it's, not so. Give us your thoughts. How would you handle that? And what would you do differently, and how you would hit the ball, or how you would, swing the club if the conditions are windy?
Well, we all have heard, totally different ways of doing it. But I, as you well know, I grew up on the coast of Florida, so we learned how to play in the wind, kind of like the guys out in Texas and the ladies in Texas all over, learn to play in the wind. And, you just got to try to take as much of the wind factor out as you can. But you also can use the wind. I mean, what you find a lot of times, you can allow the wind to you hear it on television, whether he's going to hold it into the wind or ride the wind. The best players in the world never want to ride the wind because they lose control. They want to turn it into it to manage it. But from a day-to-day player that's just, out trying to have a nice round of golf in the afternoon, the wind picks up, I think the most common factor you hear amongst instructors and players is that you want to try to not elevate the ball, obviously. So you want to try to take spin off the ball. So what that's going to try to get you more trajectory. So really one of the most effective ways of doing that is try to take a little extra club and hit, just don't manage the club speed to where you're not having to swing at full speed to get the ball to go the distance, because we want to try to keep the ball down under the wind, and the less spin we have on the ball off the club face, the better we're going to be. So we can take, let's say you got a normal 150-yard 7-iron. I'm going to take my 6-iron and not swing as hard. It's not that I'm going to hit 3/4. I'm just going to kind of, hit a cruiser to keep the ball down. I don't want to elevate it. I want to keep the ball down. One of the things that most people don't recognize is sometimes the wind's blowing fairly brisk, is it will push the ball out of the air. Going downwind, you can't get the elevation, and it'll push it down just sometimes as effectively as a headwind will. So those are some of the factors you have to look at. But I've always tried my best to take more clubs, swing easier, keep the ball down as far as trajectory to minimize the effect on the ball. If you're in gusty winds, it's difficult. You can watch the players on television when they get the gusty winds. They spend an abnormal amount of time trying to figure out what to do. They're trying to wait the gust out, try to hit in between them. We play a game in today's world that we think we have to play quickly to stay, in position and get off the golf course in 4 hours, or they're going to take a shot at you at the end of the day. You can wait a little time. It don't take that long to play a golf shot. Try to find your way through those gust of winds if you're playing in a gusty wind to try to manage it a little bit. And those are just some simple things you can do. It's all variable from day to day and player to player. I tend to hit the ball pretty straight, so wind is a factor, but not near as much as you're curving it. If you have, those downwinds, or if you tend to hit the ball left or right and you got a left or right wind, it may be a little difficult to control the ball. So you want to take those things into factor. What's up around the green or in the fairway? Maybe that bunker that's in the right-hand side of the golf course, it doesn't matter to you much, but today it is, because we've got a left or right wind and you cut the ball. You might want to hit your 3-wood, take that bunker out of play. No. Not try to do something fancy. So it's complicated, and I just think it's situational. from day to day and player to player, and they find their own way of managing how they play in the wind. But from my personal perspective, I try to take some speed out of the swing to keep the ball down off out of the air as much as I can.
Yeah, definitely some good advice. Great thoughts. And you're exactly right. I mean, you don't know what you're going to be faced with. The main thing is really to pay attention. You have to at least be observant. I mean,
right.
If you've got a consistent wind either in your face or coming from behind, it's a little easier to manage, to know what to do when you know that, okay, it's 10, 15 miles an hour, whatever the case is, and it's steady. But when you get those gusty or swirling winds, I mean, it's a crapshoot. So, I mean, even the best of the best have difficulties. Like you said, they try to play in between the gusts. Jamie, I'm going to move on to this one. This is one you don't hear really people talking a lot about, but I think it's important because there's really some advantages and disadvantages too, depending on how you're playing. But playing in wet conditions, so maybe you've just had some rain, doesn't necessarily mean it's flooded out the golf course, but the course is definitely wet. Ball's not going to travel maybe as far. There's moisture in the atmosphere, so it can affect playing conditions as well. So adjustments need to be made here. Talk a little bit about that if you don't mind.
Well, in general, I think that balance is crucial in golf, and I think it's probably the one thing that I think makes is the prime difference between professionals and amateurs, which is better balance. In professionals, you just kind of don't see pros doing what amateurs often do, which is to slip, fall away from the ball, sway, lift, all these kinds of things. So when we're talking about wet conditions, balance is it's even more important to be paying attention to one's balance because it's easy to slip. Footwork isn't necessarily so good. So balance is crucial, and that might mean as well, I'm a big fan of utilizing our lower body in the golf swing a lot more than is taught. I really emphasize it. But at the same time, in wet conditions, you got to really kind of anchor your feet and maybe control the lower body a little bit more. You also have to pay attention to making good contact with the ball and not getting the club too steep, which will result in a lot of fat golf shots. So those are some things that I think are extremely important. But as you said, the air is heavier, the ball, you're not going to get so much roll, so you got to factor that into your distance and your club selection. When you're putting, typically the greens will be slower because of the moisture in the greens. So you've got to, it's just common sense stuff in terms of taking in those factors. You also want to pay attention to your grips, that they're not too wet or damp, and maybe have a towel that you can just kind of tamp down your grip every time you're, picking a club. I like to keep a few extra gloves in my golf bag because I don't like to have a wet golf glove. Yeah, right. I really like to have a solid grip on the ball. So those are some things I really think about. Again, keeping good balance, good connection with the feet. Like I said, probably minimizing a little bit the lower body movement. Even though that's not to say just use your arms a lot, but it's just to say really kind of sink into your center, sink into your knees and feet. Be sure you're holding your balance well. And again, making cleaner ball contact because it's just too easy to literally get stuck in the mud. Get the face of your club stuck in the mud or the grass and then hit fat shots.
Well said as well, Jamie. And I think also too, really, you could almost really add a couple of points that Clint had mentioned about the wind conditions, and that is because you don't have as good a footing. I mean, especially with today's golf shoes, as nice and stylish as they are, we're not playing with the old spike shoes like we once did. And a lot of the newer shoes, don't really, in my opinion, I'm not saying all of them, but some of them don't grip into the ground as well, in my opinion. So that, you tend to spin out a little bit more in some cases, especially if you're really stepping on it. So, maybe what you might want to do, again, if it's really wet and slick, is maybe take that extra club and swing a little easier as opposed to, taking that 7-iron as Clint demonstrated. So that's, I think, one thing as well. And you touched on as well as the distance. And I think this is an opportunity. It should be standard regardless of whether it's wet or not. but you really need to know your carry distance for your clubs, because this becomes more important in wet conditions, because you're not going to get that additional roll or as much as you might under normal conditions. So, if you've got to carry it 150 yards and you were factoring in maybe a 5 or 10 yard, roll, you're not going to get that now. It may plug, or it may, only roll a couple yards. So you really need to know your distances that you're hitting each club. So those are some factors as well. But great point, Jamie, as well. Go ahead.
Well,
you want to add something?
Another, you mentioned, your golf shoes. It's a funny thing when the weather's when it's wet out there and you kind of don't want to mess up your nice new shoes, and so oftentimes people will take their kind of older shoes. But as you said, we don't have cleats anymore, and a lot of times older shoes, I don't know quite what we call them, but the sort of they're not really spikes right on the bottom of modern golf shoes. But with older shoes, those can really wear down, and so you already don't have such a good gripping power from the soles of those shoes. And those are the shoes we typically take out to play in when the grass is muddy and wet. So kind of a bad storm there. You got to really pay attention to having enough grip on your soles of your shoes.
Well, yeah, I mean, your feet are what touch the ground, and playing in shoes that you're slipping and sliding. It's like, in hockey, if your skates aren't sharp, you're not going to, that edge is not going to dig in the ice, and you're going to be falling all over the place. So yeah, your feet have to be obviously comfortable and dry, and the shoes have to be able to give you the support you need. Clint, we're going to move on to this one more here under the weather conditions, or conditions overall, and that is adjusting to course firmness. Was mentioned about, out places like Texas or Arizona, and that where conditions tend to be a little drier. Obviously, I knew they do their best to keep things watered, but sometimes those courses dry out and they firm up. So you kind of have the opposite to what we just talked about with wet conditions. What are some things that we can do to adjust or to accommodate maybe a more firm golf course?
Well, I try to find as many of those as I can, because the ball goes a lot further, I mean, get as old as I'm getting, you take every advantage you can get. Yeah, I mean, a lot of it just comes down to, as Jamie and you both have said here this evening, just being aware and paying attention. Some of this stuff is common sense, as she said. That if you're hitting your driver and you normally find the middle of the dog leg and it's dried up a little bit and ball's rolling out, your driver's going to go too far. You may want to take a 3-wood, and put it in the same position. Even when golf courses tend to get dried out, the superintendents in this country and around the world know how to manage around into the green complexes. So those generally are still relatively consistent or soft, even in a dry condition. So you're primarily dealing with, fairway conditions, most off the tee, and on par fives, at the ball's, rolling out a little further than normal. So I think you just have to, everybody's got a rangefinder today. Just shoot the spots you want to get it to on a normal basis, and if you've noticed on the first couple of holes the ball's rolling out further, you have to make your judgments and adjustments for club selection is what it comes down to. And generally speaking, most golf courses, when they get a little firm and fast, get a little more difficult. So therefore, you're relying on your short game and chipping and putting and scoring game maybe to keep you in the event, but they tend to get a little bit tighter because the fairways get narrower as they get harder. So again, there you may consider hitting a little bit, maybe not your driver all the time, to manage the curvature to keep the ball kind of towards the middle of the fairway if you can, because it definitely changes the width of your golf course when it gets firm. So
yeah, no, well
just
said.
Some common sense things.
Yeah, and that really is the sort of the underlying theme. Whether you're preparing for a tournament or a club championship, or you're just going out with your regular foursome. I mean, being prepared. As Jamie put out earlier, talked about understanding the course. Obviously, if you're playing your home course, you know what to expect, but understanding the challenges that you're going to be faced with and preparing as best you can for that, which leads us, Jamie, into this, and this is really understanding some of the lie conditions that you might be faced out there. And I'm just going to throw a couple in here for chipping, but you can certainly welcome. I mean, it can apply to pit shots and things like that as well. But a lot of our amateurs find themselves in rough, and a lot of them don't really know what to do. They, sometimes the rough is not too bad. Other times it could be kind of thick and gnarly, and we have to be prepared to make some changes. So what are some of the changes if you find yourself, and again, if you want to use both examples in sort of a lighter rough and then maybe in a more, penalizing thick rough, how you might want to approach that shot a little bit differently. And I know we don't have the benefit of a visual here, but maybe you can, describe it as best as possible, some of the changes that you might make maybe in your setup or club selection, that sort of thing. So go ahead if you want to tackle those.
Yeah, well, let's just start. We'll start with the fairway. There's usually the fairway, then a first cut of rough, and then you can get into some thicker rough. For fairway shots, I think that rough off the fairway, this is really where hybrids come in very, very handy, especially to get out of some of the thicker rough. It's hard to. I'll see people sometimes even take out their 3-wood in thick rough, and it's just not going to do it. The club face is going to be slowed down way too much. And hybrids were originally called rescue clubs, and what evolved into hybrids. And so you could kind of rescue the situation by having a club that was easy to kind of cut through the grass and still get some distance on it. So I really recommend that people have some hybrids in their bag. Oftentimes, let's say you're in some rough and it looks like, let's say it's what you judge as your usual 8-iron distance, I would suggest taking another club. Again, the grass is going to slow the club down, and so the ball's not going to go quite so far. And you could, like a 7-iron you can even feel that it's a stronger club than a loftier club. So, and it might be better to use sort of more of a punch shot where, you're not trying to get so much loft on it, but a little, for me, a greater extension down the line, follow through, just really, good strong stance and really staying with the shot more. The longer grass tends to turn the club face more easily, so it's very important to have that strength and stability in your stance. And I'm hesitant to say more muscle power because I don't really like people to get tense and using their muscles too much, but there is a place, especially with really long grass, where you're going to have to, put some muscle power into it to get the ball out properly. Sometimes, it needs to be like a really short shot, let's say to pitch out of, a short shot pitching, from long grass onto the green. Sometimes it's a steeper takeaway, and then really being sure to come down and get that club down right behind the ball so that, and then come through it and the ball, and then just really rely on the loft of the club to launch that ball up in the air. So again, I have a Buddhist rule of golf. That's what I call it. I say, I stay down, ball go up. I come up, ball stay down.
Right.
And it's so true. It's so true. So, when we have these conditions of longer grass or sand, side hills, why do golf course architects put those things in? That's to test us even more, and it continues to test our balance, to test our quote-unquote staying down, keep an eye on the ball, which is to say keep a strong center so that your club is going to come down and make really solid contact on the ball, rather than, having the slope or the grass turn the club in your hands, and then that just, destroys the contact on the golf ball. So those are, we have to look at really some very specific situations. And I encourage people to take lessons. I love to teach troubleshot school, which will be a whole weekend, where we are putting our ball in all kinds of quote unquote bad lies, right? And we need to be prepared to practice and learn some, what clubs are going to work. Do we need to have a steeper takeaway or not? What do we need to do in this particular situation? Maybe the ball's up against, the grass right off the green, and all of a sudden you have a hard time chipping it or putting it. Like, what do you do when it's right there? So all kinds of situations that I think you need to be prepared for and practice. And those are some of the most fun golf schools I ever do, troubleshot school, because we're playing with all these different situations and experimenting and finding out what works, and also gaining some confidence just because, I've been there in practice. Now when I'm there on the golf course, it's not like, oh, no, what do I do now?
Right, exactly. And you raise a great point because, and it's good to do schools like that because the truth be known, I would say probably, a high 90 percentile of our amateur golfers do not practice any of those shots. When I was growing up and first learning the game, I actually used to make a point of putting my ball in situations like that, whether it be in thick rough or what have you, because it's easy to hit off a perfect lie once you understand, obviously, how to swing the golf club properly. But, everybody can hit it off a nice, tee or a nice level surface and that. But when you start adding, some difficulties to it, now all of a sudden you've got to, the old brain has to start working. Okay, well, how do I handle this? And obviously you want to have good instruction to be able to guide you along. But because, and this is the problem that we see, Clint, with a lot of golfers out on the lesson tee or out on the practice range, is they're only practicing the really good shots, and they're not practicing any of the shots that, that Jamie just talked about. And so when they get out on the golf course, I mean, the really good lies are far and few between for some golfers, and the really bad lies that, again, as Jamie pointed out, is what they're dealing with, and they're not prepared for it, and they wonder why they're, shooting such high scores. So I'm if you want to add any thoughts that you can, but I'm going to get you to talk about tight lies, because this is another one you might think, oh, this is great, tight lies, not a big deal. But where we see a lot of problems, especially up around the green, you get that really tightly mowed fairway, callers coming into it, and all of a sudden now you see people, taking a high lofted wedge and they're skipping it off because they're not using the bounce correctly, all kinds of things. So touch on that a little bit. How do we handle tight lies and get these people instead of, thinning the shots?
Well, if you isolate the idea around the green, we can come to that in a minute. But out on the fairway, most good players look for a little bit of a tight lie. It gives you an opportunity to hit the ball first and not catch flyers and stuff. But isn't it interesting? You're talking about hitting trouble shots, and I've never seen a driving range that had a root and rock area. Put your ball over in them root and rocks, and you can practice over there. We don't have those things on practice tees. I mean, so where are they going to practice these shots? I'm with Jamie. You have the clinics where it could be something special. That would be really ideal if a lot of folks would do that at their club, but nobody does that. I mean, not on a regular basis anyway, but we really don't. It's kind of like you have sand bunkers on the golf course and you don't have a practice bunker. How do you expect people to learn how to hit out of something you have intentionally put on the golf course and not give them an area to learn how to hit out of it? What do you expect?
Yeah.
All right. So,
right.
But now it's one of, now that I'm done ranting about that. And so if you're up around the green in a tight lie, you do recognize the only reason we put the ball in the air in this game is the surface between me and my intended target is not predictable. That's the only reason. There's a pond in front of me. I have to fly it over, so I put the ball in the air. Now, if I have a tight lie around the green, that would give me the indication the grass is mowed pretty close. The surface I'm on may be predictable enough for me to use my putter. Can I roll it up there? If I've got a tight lie, I may stand a better chance of taking a putter, or maybe my 5 and we've all heard it, take the 5 and 6 iron and hit the little bump and run. Those are wonderful shots. And one of the reasons that we have lost that shot in our game is nobody ever sees it on television. But if you go to a tour spot and watch these folks play, they hit that shot a lot more than you think they do, but they don't ever show it on television because it's boring.
Yeah.
We want to see the flop shot over the bunker, and so the amateurs trying to spin it, the golf professionals trying to manage spin, and so I've always got a person, when they're standing there, the way you figure out your situation, the first question you ask is, can I roll it? Is the surface between me predictable enough that I can take this tight, skinny lie that it's going to be a little dicey if I got to hit it in the air. So can I roll it off of this lie I have? So the intensity of the lie and how the situation around the ball will dictate your questions to yourself. Again, manage yourself here. Ask yourself a question. Can I roll it all the way? What's between me and the green? If I'm on a tight lie and it's a little bit fuzzy around the green, that's when I'm going to hit that little bump and run. I have to fly it a little bit, but I still don't want to be out there trying to hit this high flop shot off of a piece of concrete. So those are the things that I guess I encourage the folks I work with. Look at the lie. What is my chances of putting it in the air? If I have to try that, then I just got to go for it. It's a risky shot. But if I've got a bunker in front of me or something, I got to go up. So I just try to take my 60 or 58 and the highest lofted club I got and do the best I can to not tense up and jab at it, try to loft it up there. But if that area where I'm sitting, the surface is either very predictable or likely predictable, then I'm going to roll it if I can, but bump it up and let it bounce up and roll up off of that. Much better chances of me making legitimate contact on the ball that way versus me trying to pick it up off that skinny lie. Okay?
Yeah. Yeah, great points. And you're exactly right. I mean, you obviously, the real, again, the key here in our discussion tonight is really the assessment. And let's look at the situations. Right. Let's prepare ourselves as best as we can, given our knowledge. You know, you both talked about knowledge. And when you have that knowledge and you understand, and this is where experience comes in. You know, obviously beginning golfers aren't as knowledgeable. They go by what they see on TV or what they've been, told, and they don't get out there. They haven't gotten out there and really experimented much themselves. So the more knowledge that you can acquire along the way, the better prepared you can be. But you're right. There's a lot of lies that we don't practice. You don't see on the range, the root and rock, as you mentioned. I mean, I've been there a few times myself, so I can attest to it. It's not something you see on the practice range. Right. So, I'm not saying people prefer to go out and put their ball next to a root, but because that can be not a good thing. But again,
we don't want to do that.
Yeah, exactly. Right. But the point is that you're going to be faced with a lot of situations that are going to leave you in a position that you're not going to know how to handle it if you never practice them. So you need to be cognizant of that. So great discussion tonight, guys. Both of you did a phenomenal job tackling this. As always, I got to get ready for my travel section coming up here in just a moment or two. But I always like to give you guys a chance to let the folks know if they want to reach out. Jamie, if you want to go first, how they can get in touch with you, and then Clint.
Mm-hmm. I'll best go to my website, which is thecenteredway.com, centeredway.com, for Ki Golf, Centered Golf Instruction information. You can write to me, Jamie, Jamie, at thecenteredway.com. Find me on Facebook or LinkedIn, Jamie Leno Zimran, and call me or text me, +1 760-492-GOLF. 4653 760-492-GOLF. So I do respond to emails, texts, messages, and would love to hear from you.
Perfect. Thank you. Clint, go ahead.
Yeah, Ted, Jamie, it's a pleasure being on the show with you tonight. It's always a lot of fun. Ted, thanks for having me. And as always, it's ClintGolf001 at yahoo.com. Real simple. I'll respond back to people if they send requests or questions, and look forward to it. And I'll be here next month, I hope.
All right, sounds good. Thank you both very, very much for giving of your time and always doing a great job on the Coach's Corner panel. God bless. Have a great weekend, guys, and I'll see you next time here on the Coach's Corner panel segment of Golf Talk Live.
Good night, everybody. Good night.
All right, that was Jamie Leno Zimran and Clint Wright joining me on the Coach's Corner panel as we get ready for our travel segment tonight, sponsored by Golf Breaks by PGA Tour. Here's a quick message from them, and then I'll introduce tonight's special travel guest.
This golf travel segment is sponsored by Golf Breaks by PGA Tour. If you are tired of researching and planning your group's golf trips, let the travel experts at Golf Breaks by PGA Tour help. Get a customized golf trip with their hassle-free service and save money with their guaranteed best prices. Right now, Golf Breaks by PGA Tour is offering up to $200 off your next golf trip, exclusive to Golf Talk Live listeners. Simply quote Golf Tips 200 online or over the phone. Terms apply. Go to golfbreaks.com to start planning your next golf trip today.
All right, welcome back to Golf Talk Live, and we're going to morph into our special travel feature, again sponsored by Golf Breaks by PGA Tour. And I'm excited to welcome tonight's special featured travel guest, Joshua Willis. He's the VP of Operations at Sun River Resort. Let me tell you just a little bit about him, and then I'll bring him on, and we'll get into our discussion. Joshua spent a good part of his life in Georgia prior to graduating high school. He's a graduate of Mississippi State University, where he attended the Professional Golf Management program. He joined the Sun River Resort team in 2023. His introduction to Sun River Resort was as a PGA golf professional, which included positions as the head golf professional of Crosswater and director of golf for Sun River Resort. And today, as I mentioned, he's the vice president of operations for the resort. So please welcome my very special travel guest tonight, Joshua Willis. Good evening, Joshua. Welcome.
Yeah, hi. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Thank you very much for agreeing to come back. As I know you're aware, and as I mentioned to my audience when I came on tonight earlier, we had a technical issue last week. You were supposed to be on last week with both Robert and I. Robert, of course, is our travel expert and co-host of the travel segment. And unfortunately, we ran into some technical issues and had to cancel literally last minute. So my apologies first off for that. And unfortunately, Robert had another engagement come up this week, so he's not able to join us. So unfortunately, you're just stuck with me tonight, but I think we'll manage to have a good time anyways. But thank you for coming back so quickly on the show and agreeing to spend some time with the audience.
I appreciate it. I've been on hold since last week, so I'm really excited to speak with you this afternoon.
Yeah, it's been a long time, I know, to be on hold. So thank you for your patience and for your dedication. Touche, I love it. So very quickly, talk about, because I mentioned that you obviously went through the PGA Golf Management program. So obviously, you have a lot of experience on that. And why golf? What was it about golf that really piqued your interest as you were, growing up?
I played golf as a kid. Picked the game up probably around 8, 9, 10 years old, something like that. And obviously, like any young golfer, I had some accomplishments. I had some accomplishments along the way, and I decided that I could make a living playing golf. Well, like 99.999% of all golfers, I quickly realized I was never going to make a living playing golf, and I decided I'd pursue a career in basically golf club management. And at that time, there were 4 colleges that were accredited with the PGA of America, including Mississippi State, which was the closest to the region I grew up in. And I decided to go there after playing college golf for 1 year and focus on getting an education and hopefully having a career post-college versus trying to play golf and just, never being able to accomplish that.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I always loved the game as a youngster growing up, watching great players like Nicklaus and Palmer and Trevino and many others. I just knew it was not in the cards for me to get out there and battle it out with those gentlemen and many others that followed. So I took the other route, and I work on the teaching side of the game, or have for 30 plus years. So much like you, I ended up finding another route that I could be a part of the game, and it served me well for many seasons. So let me ask you something. So we're going to get right into Sun River Resort, but what I want to get you to do first, we're going to dial in on specific things, but give us an overview of the resort and where is it located, so that for people that want to pay you guys a visit, where is it located, what state's it in, what area generally, and just give us a general overview of the course, and then we'll get into some specifics.
Central Oregon. The town that is most known is Bend, Oregon. 12 miles up the mountain, 1,000 foot in elevation from Bend, Oregon, is a 3,300-acre planned community called Sun River. Sun River Resort is the hub of all the activity in the community of Sun River. In addition to Sun River community and Sun River Resort, I work for the resort, we also, the resort and our ownership group, has the Crosswater development as well as the Caldera Springs development. So all in, our village, our community here as a whole, we are, 3,300 acres for Sun River and 600 acres for Crosswater, as well as 600 at Caldera. So, a solid 4,500 acre community as a whole, even though they're three unique little communities that touch each other.
Wow, fantastic! And I, to be honest, until I got ready for the show last week, I wasn't exactly clear on where it was located. So thank you for sharing that. And I've been on the website a number of times in preparation and looking at obviously not just the videos, but the various different links and things. And it's just a beautiful looking area, and I can certainly see not only why you're excited about being part of that, but why somebody would want to come out and visit and enjoy the many activities and amenities that are available. We'll talk about some of those, but let's focus on the golf. There's a number of golf courses available. Give us a little bit of an overview and the playability, how they differ, and then you've got some upcoming tournaments. Obviously, Sun River Resort, you guys have hosted there a number of events, PGA of America, NCAA, and obviously USGA and other PGA Champions Tour Championship as well. Has been featured there. Talk about the courses, talk about their playability, how they differ from one another, and maybe touch on some of the upcoming tournaments that we can expect to see there.
Yeah, well, since I'm at the main lodge right this moment, behind me is the Meadows Golf Course. The Meadows Golf Course was the original golf course that was built. It's a John Fote design. And it's named appropriately after the Great Meadow where it was constructed. And between on the other side of the Meadows Golf Course, this is the Chutes River, and then just up the hillside is Mount Bachelor. So that's what I look at every day from my office. The second golf course that was built is the Woodlands Golf Course. That's a Robert Trent Jones Jr. golf course. It's on the north end of the Sun River community. Appropriately named Woodlands as a result of some of the, I would call them old growth ponderosas that he left as prominent features on the golf course when he designed it. Then in 1995, our ownership had a vision, which was the Crosswater community, which included a new golf course, which would be the third golf course. In 1995, this golf course opened. Crosswater, when it opened, was immediately ranked as a top 100 golf course in America, which it still is today. That golf course also really helped put Sun River Resort on the map nationally as a result of very strategic marketing initiatives that were put behind the opening of the golf course, as well as future golf championships that would be conducted there over time, that would put, make Crosswater visible. Quite frankly, I always love to tell this story. 1999, sitting in my apartment at Mississippi State University on my lunch break, I turned the TV on, and it's the Shell's Wonderful World of Golf. And what I remember was it was John Daly and Fred Couples. Mm-hmm. But more so than John Daly and Fred Couples in the Shell's Wonderful World of Golf was looking at this golf course and being like, that is the most amazing golf course I've ever seen. And it had a river running through it, and I love to fish. And I just kept thinking to myself, I wonder what type of fish are in that river, because that's where I want to be. Then fast forward 2006, the Caldera Springs development began, which was our Crosswater ownership. And Bob Cupp, who designed Crosswater for us, designed the Caldera Links Golf Course, which is the par 3, 9-hole, very family-friendly golf course in that development. So a quick overview of the 4 golf courses we have, and, let's talk about some of the championships we have coming up. I was on the call with them earlier today, but really happy to welcome the PGA of America back here in early September. They will be conducting 3 consecutive golf championships here. The first championship will be the PGA Cup. That is the 10 best PGA professionals from the USA team competing against the 10 best PGA professionals from the Great Britain Ireland team. We will wrap that event up, take a couple of days off, and then we will have the Senior PGA Professional National Championship. That event, the top finishers will qualify and be exempt for qualifying into the Senior PGA Championship in 2025. That the PGA Cup will be at Meadows exclusively. The Senior PGA Professional National Championship will be at Meadows and Woodlands. And then once we wrap that event up in late September, we will, the very next day, kick off the 3rd championship, which will be the Women's PGA Cup. The Women's PGA Cup is slightly different than the men's. It's not 2 teams competing against each other with 10 players each. It's 5 players that make the team, so the 5 best female PGA professionals in the United States competing against the 5 best PGA professionals from 6 other associations, including Australia, Canada, Great Britain, Ireland, South Africa, and Sweden. So really excited to have our friends from the PGA of America back here for the whole month of September into early October. We've had a long-standing relationship with them, which we value greatly, starting back in 2001. When we did a championship at Crosswater and 3 more at Crosswater, including 2007, 2013, and 2017.
Wow. And that's a full plate, if you will, in the month of September and easing into a little bit of October. What's the weather typically going to be like around that time? I imagine it's going to be just perfect because you're not in the heat of the summer. You're not quite in the cooler. It is cooler, but it's not quite in the cold temperatures that you would obviously experience in the winter months. So that's going to be an ideal time. And obviously you've got introduction of fall and that sort of thing. So I imagine it's going to be very, very exciting for all 3 of these championships coming there in September, right?
Yeah, it'll be an amazing time of year to have them here. They're very familiar with our property strategically. They want to be here in that time for a reason. Personally, I believe that the month of September is the single greatest month to golf. They're all amazing. Our agronomics on our golf courses are identical everywhere. We maintain all 4 of our golf courses to the same exact standards, and they're simply amazing. But why do I personally like September the most? All the wetlands and the native fescues, they really start to have this character. They start to brown out a little bit, and it just creates this, definition on the golf course. And every golf course in the world, including, let's face it, the Masters, right? There is a time that every golf course peaks, and there is something about it, whether it's the azaleas at Augusta National or the native fescues in the wetlands at Sun River Resort that make all of our golf courses peak and make them the most photogenic time of the year. But the weather is going to be amazing. The PGA professionals are going to have a blast here, both the competitors when they're playing golf, as well as their families that are going to be here enjoying all of our variety of amenities we have to offer.
Yeah, and that's what I want to get to next, is give you an opportunity to talk about the non-golf amenities that are featured at the resort. Give us an overview again of some of the things that people can expect.
Yeah, I would say we most recently this year, we in our Caldera development, we opened, it's called the Forest House is the name of it, but it's this amazing facility, massive outdoor luxury pools, tech gym on the inside, Piney's dining on the inside, duck pin bowling, which some people don't know about. It's basically miniature bowling, but it's electronic. You bowl a ball that's a little bit smaller. The pins are a little bit smaller. It resets it for you. You keep score, etc. Back in 2001, we added on to our Cove is the name of it, but it was our resort pool. We added on an indoor facility, so an additional pool that is enclosed with slides, etc. In addition to those amazing pools, we have a marina that operates seasonally here into early October, where you do a 6.5-mile float down the river. You get to choose from your flotation device. So you can have a single kayak, a double kayak. You can use canoes, which were the original flotation devices back in 1968. You can rent rafts, anywhere from a 4-person raft to a 12-person raft. And what you see on the river that day, it really speaks to what Sun River community and Sun River Resort really are about, and the great outdoors and all the nature and the beauty we have here. We also offer our Sun River Stables offers horseback guided rides all summer long, which is something that you just don't find everywhere. We have our own private airport here for people that which really works well for a lot of our homeowners that have the luxury of being able to fly in and out and get here extremely conveniently. It's just a really special place. The culture, we always say, is when you get to Sun River, the first thing you do is when you unpack your car, you take your keys and you basically hide them. There's no reason. You don't need a key. We have resort transportation that takes you to and from our golf courses and our amenities. Or the culture is you get a bike and you bike wherever you want to go. We have over 40 miles of paved bike paths here. Or if you're into more extreme biking, you can go across the Chutes River on Cardinal Bridge, and you can have access to a mountain bike trail system that is just absolutely unbelievable.
What's really struck an interest in from me when I was on your website in preparation for tonight is, as you just put, there's so many different amenities, and because not everybody. One of the biggest pet peeves that a lot of people have with your sort of run-of-the-mill golf courses, and that's not to overshadow anybody else's property, but people that don't play golf, or maybe they say, well, there's spas and things, and that's fine. It's great to have that, but you offer a lot more. And what I noticed with some of the video footage is it's very family oriented. So it's not just something that dad or even mom can do. You can bring the kids. You can have an adventure. Maybe the parents might golf during the day together, and the kids have activities to do that keep them busy. And then the family can connect a little bit later and do some things as well. Again, biking, horseback riding, whatever. There's a multitude of amenities that are available for the non-golfers as well. So I think that's extremely important. I like the fact that you've got some water activities too. Who doesn't like water, especially through the warmer months? So there's a lot here for everybody. So there's really, even if you don't play golf, there's plenty of reasons to come here and have a good time on the resort. And obviously you've got a lot of great restaurants as well that are right there on the property that people can come and have some great dining experience as well. So I think all around you guys have a great package. Touch a little bit on the real estate opportunities. You mentioned that as well. Maybe you could talk just briefly about that.
Yeah, we have a realty company. It's called Sun River Realty. You can go to sunriverrealty.com. You can look at homes in the Sun River community, or you can look at homes in the Caldera community, specifically the development that is ongoing currently, and it's just absolutely amazing. I mentioned the Forest House amenity earlier in the pool. That really serves as the clubhouse for that development today. Just endless opportunities from a real estate perspective. Membership opportunities at all of our golf courses, membership opportunities at our fitness facilities, the spa. You talked about family family-friendly amenities. Last year, we embarked on a adventure which converted our tennis courts to pickleball courts because of how family-friendly it is. We have today 10 outdoor pickleball courts. We have 8 indoor pickleball courts, which allows for, one more year-round recreational amenity for everyone. You mentioned too as well, right? You over where our indoor pickleball courts are is where the spa is. It's just there's not a shortage of activities and amenities for people to enjoy here, and absolutely a very generational property. You can every day you can introduce yourself to someone on this property who got introduced to it by their parents, and their parents were introduced to it by their parents, etc. And it dates all the way back to 1968 when the visionary and developer John Gray toured the property and put a stake in the ground and said, "This is what we're going to do, and this is going to be the master plan, which is going to be Sun River community, and this is where Sun River Resort is going to start."
Yeah, and a very smart move on his part, of course. I would be remiss if I didn't give you an opportunity to talk about the Golf Academy as well. A lot of great opportunities here for those that want to come and visit and maybe need a little fine-tuning, or maybe their game is not up to snuff and they want to get a last-minute tune-up before. Talk a little bit about some of the instruction. Obviously, you have a golf school and programs available for juniors on up. So touch on that a little bit if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah, certainly. We offer, we have teaching professionals at all of our golf courses, but we also, over here at the Meadows Golf Course at the main lodge, we have a director of golf instruction and an assistant director of golf instruction. I was speaking with them moments ago. Really, really amazing couple. And not something you see every day, but Kevin Erdman is the director of instruction. His wife, Courtney, is the assistant director of instruction. They've got a really fun story. They met years ago with the oh God, I'm missing it now, but it was a show that started on Golf Channel where you competed and they had a winner. I can't believe I'm failing to remember the name of the show that started. I mean, this was years ago, but that's where the two of them actually. That's
Big
where
break.
they met. Big break, thank you. And they met as a result of that. But look them up. Look up the Sun River Resort Golf Academy. You'll see pictures of Kevin and Courtney there, two of the nicest human beings you'll ever meet. And, I just blessed to have them, but also to have such an amazing instructor, female instructor, is just not something you find everywhere either.
Right. Yeah, no, well said. And I think what's important, too, is, you have a lot of great amenities. You've got, top quality golf courses. You've got a lot of activities there, and you have many offers available for people that want to do a stay and play, or people just want to come to the resort for other reasons. Again, not necessarily doesn't have to include golf if they're not a golfer, but there's something there for every level of player, every level of golfer. And for those that, as I said, that want to come and make this a learning experience at the same time, you've got a top-notch academy with, again, top-notch professionals there to help get your game up to par. So a lot of great stuff. Again, if people want to get more information, in addition to what you shared with us tonight, where can they go to do that? What's the website?
sunriverresort.com.
All the information's right there, and it looks like a lot of fun. I understand. I think Robert's coming in September. Very jealous. So, Robert, if you happen to hear this a little bit later on, I'm jealous, my friend, that you're going to go there and I'm not going to be there. So, but great time. I'll make my way out there at some point. But, Joshua, I want to thank you very, very much. I appreciate you coming on and sharing about Sun River Resort. It looks and sounds like a great opportunity for people to get out there and just have some fun. And Lord only knows we all need to have a little bit of that these days. So, but thank you for coming on and sharing that. And again, the website is sunriverresort.com. All of the information is there, from golf to all of the other stuff that we talked about here tonight. And thank you for coming on and sharing with my audience tonight.
Well, thank you for having me, and we greatly appreciate the opportunity to talk about Sun River Resort, because we all love this place greatly, and hope to have you out soon, and we'll look forward to seeing Robert as well here in a couple of weeks.
Yep, sounds good. I would love to come and visit, so definitely we'll make a point of doing that. But Joshua, thank you very much. Joshua Willis, the VP of Operations at Sun River Resort. Again, the website is sunriverresort.com. All of the information's there. You can contact whoever you need to help make your stay and a welcomed one and a lot of fun. So go to sunriverresort.com. Thanks again, Joshua. Have a great weekend, and thanks again for joining me tonight on Golf Talk Live. Joshua Willis, looks like he might have had some technical issues towards the end, but needless to say, appreciate him coming on. All right, as I get ready to welcome my next guest, here's a quick message from one of our sponsors.
When it comes to golf, there are two topics that consistently come up: more distance and more energy. But hey, what if you could achieve both? Introducing Victory's carbon fiber insoles, the revolutionary performance insoles designed specifically to help golfers hit longer. Using patented carbon fiber technology, VKs do more than support your feet. Many golfers see a 1 to 2 mile per hour increase in club head speed just by adding Victory insoles to their shoes. So if you want to up your game and feel better after a long day on the course, choose Victory's carbon fiber insoles. Visit Victory.com, that's VKTRY.com, and use code GT20 for 20% off today. This offer is exclusive for listeners of this podcast. Again, visit Victory.com and use code GT20 for 20% off. Order today to start feeling the difference on your next round.
The following ad is sponsored by Golf Tips Magazine.
Are you tired of being short off the tee? And what about those 3 putts? Forget about it. It's time you got serious about your game. Golf Tips, the most in-depth magazine in the industry. For over 30 years, Golf Tips has delivered expert content such as the latest golf instruction from America's top pros, simple to follow practice and game improvement drills, fitness and mental game tips, equipment, training aids, accessory and apparel reviews, golf destinations and travel tips for every budget, and so much more. Don't miss a single issue. Go to golftipsmag.com and subscribe today.
All right, welcome back, everybody, and thank you for joining me tonight on Golf Talk Live. I'm just waiting for tonight's featured guest. Hopefully he'll be joining me shortly. Of course, I'm talking about Will Carswell. He is the sales director for Blue Tees Golf. Hopefully he'll be joining me here in a few moments. I'll tell you a little bit about him, and as I said, I'll keep an eye out for him. Will is a 24-plus year golf industry veteran who has worked with such companies as Yonex and Voice Caddy. Currently, as I mentioned, he is with Blue Tees Golf as their sales director. I'm excited to have him join me, hopefully, as I said, here in a few moments, to talk about some of the new and exciting things that they're doing there. But in the meantime, let me just remind everybody that the show is live every Thursday evening from 6 to 8 p.m. Central here on the blogtalkradio.com network. You can go to blogtalkradio.com/Golf Talk Live, and we'll be front and center from 6 to 8 p.m. Central here on this network. Obviously, if you're wanting to tune in on some of the other, which you'll catch wind of a little bit later on as we close the program, but it's available on iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn, CastBox, TalkStream Live, and, of course, Spotify, and pretty much anywhere that you can get podcasts. So you can just search it out, look for Golf Talk Live, and you can listen to it there. One of the unique things about the network is not only is the broadcast live every Thursday night, but it is also auto-recorded. So what will essentially happen is at the end of the broadcast, the recorded version will become put into the on-demand section, which is just down the page a little bit, and the most recent broadcast will be at the top. So you can get the most current and then scroll your way back through previous seasons. And, of course, as most of you that have been tuning in for any length of time know that I've been doing this for a while. This is Season 12. We've got a few more months left, and then we'll be wrapping up and taking a short break, usually through the Christmas holidays and then the month of January as I prepare for next season, which will be Season 13. So I'm really excited about that. And for you ladies out there that maybe want something that's a little bit more tailored to your game, obviously you're welcome to listen to this show, but you may find the Women of Golf podcast that I do every Tuesday morning from 9 to 10 a.m. Eastern. On this same network, it's just blogtalkradio.com/Women of Golf. And I am there with my good friend and co-host, Cindy Miller, who is an LPGA professional and has played on both the LPGA and the Legends Tour, which is the senior women's golf tour. But she also teaches up in the Buffalo area most of the season, but she does do some traveling. And you'll find her various times, her and her husband, Alan, who is a life member of the PGA. You'll find them down in parts of Florida where they do their annual boot camps. You might want to do that, so you can go to cindymillergolf.com for that. I'm going to just take a moment here and see if I can reach out to my guest. And I'm not sure, he's running a little bit behind. Hopefully nothing has happened. I don't see any messages here that he's not making it, but I will double check and find out. But in the meantime, again, here's a quick message from Golf Tips Magazine once again.
The following ad is sponsored by Golf Tips Magazine.
Are you tired of being short off the tee? And what about those 3 putts? Forget about it. It's time you got serious about your game. Golf Tips, the most in-depth magazine in the industry. For over 30 years, Golf Tips has delivered expert content such as the latest golf instruction from America's top pros, simple-to-follow practice and game improvement drills, fitness and mental game tips, equipment, training aids, accessory and apparel reviews, golf destinations and travel tips for every budget, and so much more. Don't miss a single issue. Go to golftipsmag.com and subscribe today.
All right. Again, welcome back. And I'm just sending a message out right now just to see if there's some issues. He may be tied up with something, but we'll see here in a moment. And if that's the case, if he's not able to make it tonight, then I will do my best to reschedule and get him on another evening. And that just means we'll be a little bit shorter broadcast this evening. But given that we've had some technical issues this year, and I do want to take this moment while I'm waiting for a response. What I'd like to do is obviously apologize to the audience. I know many of you that follow the shows regularly tuned in last week and have had some issues earlier in the season as well, particularly around, I think it was April. We had quite a few weeks on and off that we had some problems. I think it ran into May, and then we seemed to have a bit of a reprieve, and the show seems to chug along, but we had an issue last week and wasn't able to broadcast either of the shows. So my apologies for that. Bear with us. I'm trying to work things out to get after the people that run this program, and which are based out of New York. It's a very large company and have been around for a while, but obviously they've been experiencing some technical issues here of late, and particularly this season. You know, you always, with technology, you always expect here and there might be some issues, but this has become a bit of an issue this season more so. And I just to, again, I don't mean to get off topic here, but you know, some people have asked me, mainly listeners of the show, and said, well, why don't I change, you know, platforms, maybe go somewhere else? The truth of the matter is, when you're dealing with technology of this sort, they're all going to have their fair share of issues. The other issue that becomes a bit of a challenge for hosts such as myself, especially if you've been doing this for any length of time. As I said, for this show, Golf Talk Live, I've been on the air for 12 years. On the Women of Golf, it's season 11. Next year, we'll be going to season 12. So there's a lot of archives that are stored into their system, and they certainly can be downloaded and transferred over, but it's a behemoth to do that, and really enjoy, for the most part, when it's working in good order, I enjoy the service. There is a lot of great perks that are available here. The audio is very easy to handle as far as you know, any promo spots and things like that. It's a very easy flowing setup. So that's one of the other reasons. But nevertheless, you know, I have to, you know, think of the overall podcast and so forth, and it has made it a little bit challenging this year. So we'll keep working through it. Hopefully we won't continue to have any more problems throughout the year. And I have been in touch with you know, through their customer service, and they've assured me that they're going to be more on top of this issue, but, you know, time will tell. We'll wait and see. As I said, I'm just going to wait, and I'll give a few more moments for Will, just to give him Will Carswell, of course, the sales director of Blue Tees Golf, who's scheduled for tonight. Give him a few minutes. I've reached out to the agency that booked him just to see if they can in turn reach out to him and find out if there is going to be a delay or if we need to reschedule. But so my apologies for that. So one of the things that I'd like to get people to do listening to the show more of, we should have more of this in the beginning. And obviously I know people are picking up the show whenever it's convenient for them. Not everybody's listening live, of course, but we do have a very large following of the program. And what I'd like to encourage you to do is I have an email that's set up that handles this particular show. And I would love it for listeners out there, if you have tip questions, wanting to areas of your game that you'd like improvement, that you'd like to submit and have us talk about on Golf Talk Live's Coach's Corner panel. I have pros on every single week from all over the country, and various different leveled pros, from regular PGA, LPGA professionals right up to master teach professionals who are regularly on the show. And I would love to submit some questions. So if you have questions or you have tip suggestions that you would like for us to address on the panel, and it can be a variety of areas of the game. It can be the short game. It can be the long game. Maybe you're looking to get more distance. Maybe you're struggling with your bunker shots and you want some tips. Or maybe there's a topic in golf that you're liking more clarification. What I don't get into typically on the show, if you've been listening for any time, I don't get into a lot of the controversy issues, between organizations or why they're doing this. That's up to them. Let them talk about it. I don't get into that. I'm really doing these platforms to really help people's games, obviously provide a certain amount of entertainment. I'm not looking to get into a he said, she said type of format. There's others out there that you're welcome to go and listen to that may prefer that type of format. I don't believe in, the typical sort of gotcha questions where, I invite a guest on and then I kind of, the term sandbag, no pun intended, that particular guest and hit them with a question of, of controversy or what have you. I'm not about that. That's not what the show is about. I'd like to think I have a lot more class than that. And, I've been approached by agencies in the past that say, hey, I've got a guest that'll come on there and really stir it up. It might bring a few more people on the fold, but the truth of the matter is you're going to limit the number of guests that are going to want to come on your show if they feel that that's the format. So that's why I do the format I do. I think the audience that listens to the show, I get a lot of great feedback. I get from personal friends that have tuned into the program to people that obviously I've never met who will reach out. So the email address that I'm going to give you, and again, I'm looking for people that seriously want to have help with their game. It's ted.golftalklive@gmail.com. It's ted.golftalklive@gmail.com. You're welcome. Just put in the subject line, just say, a golf tip request or conversation for Coach's Corner. Just put that in there or somewhere in the text so I know. Now, also, if you're somebody who is in the golf business, schedule, but I'm going to be looking at booking for next schedule. Maybe you're a PGA or an LPGA professional and you'd like to come on the Coach's Corner for next season. You can also reach me at that email address, ted.golftalklive@gmail.com. And I'm happy to have a discussion with you and maybe bring you in the fold with our panel discussions. You might enjoy getting some feedback of your own, but out to the audience, but also hearing some of the suggestions and tip recommendations and so forth, conversations from some of the other panelists. They always tend to enjoy each other's conversations and are able to pick up pointers that each of them can then use in their own instruction formats and so forth. So if you're wanting to be a guest, maybe you've written a great golf book and you want to come on and talk about that, again, you can reach out to me at ted.golftalklive@gmail.com as well. But I really want to encourage listeners of the show that maybe you want some help with their game and maybe you feel that the Coach's Corner panel can help with that. By all means, feel free to reach out and submit your tip request, conversation request, what have you. Obviously, it has to be golf related. Maybe you want to have a discussion. You want to hear a discussion about talking about the different types of grasses that, not all golf courses are made with the same type of grass. There's different formats or different types of grass, and maybe you want to know the difference, maybe how to play on certain types of grasses over the others. Maybe you'd like for us to talk a little bit more about the technology that's out there, we can certainly do that as well. So whatever it is, send it out there. I can't guarantee that we're going to get you in there, get your topic or your tip in there, but the more the merrier. So again, the email address is ted.golftalklive@gmail.com. Please feel free to reach out to me. I will certainly respond to all of them, and certainly thank you for your submissions. And again, for those of you in the golf industry, or if you know somebody, maybe it's your teaching pro, or maybe it's somebody that you know that holds a position in the golf industry that you'd like to have that maybe has never been on the show before, I'm happy to look at doing that. Again, the schedule this year is pretty tight, but I can certainly look at working them in for early next season. So again, email is ted.golftalklive@gmail.com. Love to hear from you. And all right, on that note, it looks like Will may be running into an error. I have not received a response back, and we're show is winding down, so I'm going to have to call it here a little bit early tonight. My apologies. I will work my best efforts to try and get him to come on at another time on a future date that's available. But I want to thank special thanks to Clint Wright and Jamie Leno-Zimron for doing a great job in the Coach's Corner panel, and then also a very special guest to our travel featured guest, Joshua Willis, the VP of Operations at Sun River Resort. And again, go to sunriver.com. Sunriverresort.com is their website. All of the information if you want to learn more about that. On that note, I want to thank you all. And again, my apologies. Here I am apologizing once again for the guest not making it to the show. But again, that happens in today's world with technology, and sometimes schedules don't always permit things to go the way you'd like to sometimes, but that's just the break. All right. God bless everybody. Have a great weekend, and I will see you next week right here on Golf Talk Live. Have a great weekend, everybody.
Thanks for joining us. We hope you enjoyed this week's broadcast of Golf Talk Live. We'd like to thank this week's Coach's Corner panel, and a special thank you to tonight's guest. Remember to join Ted every Thursday from 6 to 8 p.m. Central on Golf Talk Live. And be sure to follow Ted on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. If you're interested in being a guest on Golf Talk Live, send Ted an email at ted.golftalklive@gmail.com. This has been a production of the iGolf Sports Network.